We say that in life, media is used to convey creators' ideas, and artistic works are a medium for artists to convey creative thinking and thoughts. This unit starts with MRT routes, which allow us to visit public artworks of new media artists as they exist in life. From a one-day trip, we can experience new media art. We can see the route map next to me. Today, we will take everyone on Taipei's MRT to view public artworks that you can see walking on the street. New media artists use kinetic art, motors, interactive sensors, sound art, or light projections to make their works more interactive and beautiful. These public artworks close the gap between art and us. Good morning, everyone! Today, we are going to take everyone out for some fun. Because we have already seen a lot about works of new media art, we will now actually go for a walk in person. Today, we are in Taipei. Taipei has a lot of public art, and a lot of this public art uses new media art in its creation. There are also many new media artists that combine their works with our public spaces. So, today we will take you all on the MRT. We have found some interesting spots to take you to see. We have now arrived at our first work. Do you see that thing back there? It is a work by Susumu Shingu. This work is actually in the Nangang Software Park. Isn't the environment here very beautiful? Susumu Shingu really liked this beautiful environment. Writing nature, he built a work of kinetic art. This one combines hydraulics and wind power, and then by using water and wind, it drives its stainless steel mechanism to make it move. This causes an artificial canal to exhibit a very beautiful appearance. So, you have to come see it yourself. Now, we are going to the next spot. Get on the MRT with me. Let's go! Everyone, we have now arrived at Taipei 101 station. The work that we now see is The Moment We Meet by the artist Huang Xingqian. Can you guess what this work is talking about? We can see on its face that it has interactive sensing. When people approach it, can you see how it starts to move? It holds photographs of elderly and children. This work is also a collaboration between an artist and a photographer. They created 12 collections of poems in this. They took photographs of elderly and children with a photographer to represent that people will always age. It's like saying a child will grow up in the future. It also symbolizes a new future. So, in this progression, there are many possible changes. Let's talk about what sort of new media art concepts this work contains. The first thing we can see is the automatic turners. The second are the interactive sensing. So, it uses a network and sensors. What's most important is that through its stainless steel structure, they are all strung together. So this work has to have people pass by for it to be triggered. In this walkway, we can see that it has a lot of poems on the wall at both ends. You can approach, and then when you see the poems, you will see many poems by these writers. It represents the meeting of two generations, and that in this space and time, with many people coming and going, that there are many precious moments of meeting. It's also saying that each meeting is unique and special. So we encourage everyone to come to this place to have a look. Everyone, we have now come to the last stop of today's journey, Zhongshan Station. We are now in a park near Zhongshan Station. The word that we see now is the artist Lia Kibo's orchestra of audio robots, Big Pow. This orchestra, I think, is a kind of concept of healing. What do I mean? Because the people coming and going in this park are sort of soothed by it. The tired minds of the workers after they get off work, or students after they get out of class, who feel that they want to play. The concept of these robots is that you can use your phone or mobile device to connect via Bluetooth and then play the music that you want. So, if you want to say that it is a large speaker, that would also seem to make sense. Everyone, for the entire day today, we saw many new media art creations as they exist in life, including a new media art creation in an MRT station where people come and go. And in the alleys, we also saw some works. We now know that these works of art allow us to get closer to them, so that in our lives there is beauty hidden in every corner. Before we go back, we can plan a small trip. In this small trip, you can find what new media artworks are in the area that you are in. I'm sure that it will make your life more interesting. That's it for today. I'm going home. Bye-bye. Everyone, we are arriving at the workshop of the art team Luxury Logico. This is it. Teacher, what are you doing here?
I am often here.
This is the director of Luxury Logical, Teacher Chang Genghua. You can see that he is doing one of his usual hobbies, growing plants. In a moment, we will ask the teacher to come with us into the studio. Hello, teacher.
Hello, Chiao-Mei. A long time no see.
Yeah, teacher, last time we went to Tainan Arts Festival. I brought a fan. This one, Tainan Banquet.
You've actually kept it for a year.
Yeah, it's really great. Because of this chance, we are able to come to see your studio.
It's nothing. It's just like a factory space. Then, because actually we have a lot of works that are created here. And in a little while, I'll take you inside to see them. But it's really messy inside.
Typically, artist studios are very much like treasure troves.
Because here, we wanted this place initially because this space is very big. And because it's like a factory space. This kind of space for us, from design to production, much of it can all be completed here. Of course, there are some parts of production that we have to commission a factory to complete. But here, we can actually do a lot of large integration.
Everyone, let's follow our teacher inside. Teacher, this iron frame is really special.
Those are from our last space. When we left that space, then the building was demolished. So we kept them and have now brought them to this place. It's all been quite a long time. And its shapes are really great. So we can see and hear that there are some windows and whatnot. Just some old stuff that we reassembled like this.
It feels like a building in a building, and it feels very much like a story.
Because originally it was actually a completely empty space. And then of the 4 units inside now, originally there were only 3. When we were discussing cross-field, integration, and co-working, during this process, we discovered that it wasn't something that could be done by one unit. So our integrated section, actually we have different... I should say that when we were researching, we had different experience and different specializations. But when we became a team, we discovered that we actually needed more people to work with us. So here now, there are some younger people that studied sculpture. And Zhang Genghua was at the Arts and Technology Institute. Some students that were information engineers from when Zhang Genghua and Lunk Ling were at the Arts and Technology Institute. Then they went and studied at the Arts and Technology Institute, so they are very strong in the sciences. And now they have joined the team. That team is doing graphic design. So, for instance, the Golden Melody Award, Golden Horse Award, the design for all 3 Golden Awards, or for instance, there are some artists that CD, maybe some cover design. All of it has to do with them. Now, coming into this space, you can see that it's very messy, right? There's something of everything here. Here, it is mostly carpentry and related things. Then later in this space, we will make some adjustments to do metalworking. So here in this place, in addition to carpentry, sometimes we do some metalwork. But you can now see that it's really messy, right? Because recently we have been rearranging, so we are constructing almost 660 square meters of space that we can't really use right now. So we have rented a space next door. So we made that space into something like a space for all of our design and relatively textual or graphic work. And then this will become a space for manufacture.
This is too cool.
So we will be working on this space, so we have pulled a lot of things out. Because often we do different types of design, so there will be all sorts of things that get brought in. Then in this space, we originally wanted to do metalworking. Later, we will do some rearranging.
I heard that it was originally the refrigerator of a textiles factory, right?
At its earliest, it was likely a textiles factory. Then, after the textiles factory shut down, it was rented to a refrigeration company. So they put in some foaming spray, and then made this space into a refrigerator. I heard that originally automotive repair was done here, but we don't know for sure.
So the history of this place is very rich. A lot of people.
This building is probably over 40 years old.
40 years?
That's a long time. But I think that this kind of space is very good for us to use. Because around here, even if we are loud, because it can be very loud when we are working.
Right.
It won't bother neighbors. So even if we go really late into the night,
Is that
all right.
a laser cutter?
Yeah, a laser cutter. There's really too much stuff. We don't know how to organize
Because
it
bigger
all.
things are probably usually given to another factory to manufacture, and then small things...
Actually, it depends on what it is. It's not necessarily about size, because if there are some processes that require us to go to some workshops, then we have to work together with some factories.
The machinery materials are placed all around, so that is the carpentry workshop.
Yeah, that's where we cut wood. In a bit, we can go toward the rehearsal space. Let's go take a look. At the very beginning, when we entered this space, it was about 2012. But at that time, actually, this space, frankly, when we just arrived, it was all empty. Then our things started to accumulate. But the original plan was because we were going to work with some performance artists, so we made a rehearsal space here. That rehearsal space was actually made for some experimental processes. Then, when the dancers or performers could come to the space, we can really, on a 1-to-1 ratio, do tests. So the height of this space is actually very good for doing this. But because recently, many of our works are larger objects, now that space is being used by us for more things that we are really experimenting how to install.
I saw before that in early stages, you all worked together with a dancer. You used this space, right? You did some, for example, working together and exhibiting dance and technology.
Right. Because like when we were making the team, at first we were near Shimanding in a small workshop. But after doing experiments, it had to go into a space. And it really had to go into a space. When it had to go into a space, you know that if you fail, you fail. It's really frightening.
Right.
Because we didn't have a space, so we had to do our best to think of how to do more preparations. It can only really be complete when it's exhibited, but sometimes it's really a disappointment. But it's okay. Before that, we never really had a big failure, so it's okay. But after that, we thought, if in the early stages we had time for more completion, if we could do our own space to do tests, it's okay. You can go right up.
Go right in?
If we had the chance to do it like that, then it wouldn't be so likely to have failures.
Right.
So like this space, at the time we used it, for example, we just put down a dance floor. Then, if we want to do some spatial positioning, on the floor we make some marks. And then there's some things that we actually can't bring in to do. So we can do some tests in this space.
Right. So, up there is a viewing box, right?
It's an office as well as a space for viewing. Or you could say that it's the control booth, viewing box, or an office.
It's very multifunctional. Everyone, we have already entered this space. Let's thank teacher Geng Hua for giving us a tour of the workshop just now. We have seen the rehearsal space, the carpentry workshop, and the metal working park. Now we will ask the Luxury Logical team to introduce themselves to you. Let's first ask teacher Geng Hua to give a personal introduction.
Hello everyone, I am Geng Hua from Luxury Logical. And then when I was in college, I majored in sculpture. And in graduate school, I studied plastic arts.
Hello everyone, I am Zijian. Then, when I was in college, I studied landscape and architecture. In graduate school, I sort of switched tracks. I entered the Technology and Arts Research Institute because in the works I made in college, I always used digital media to work, and I was very interested in it. So for graduate school, I entered TNUA's Art and Technology Institute.
Hi, I am Lunk Lin. My specialization has actually always been very composite, but mainly it's music, then technology and arts, and then some philosophical discussions. So we have made a team together and everyone has different ideas. And then we brought them together to form Luxury Logico.
I'm very curious. What was it that brought you all together to form an art team like Luxury Logical?
Actually, it has a very interesting beginning. When we were in graduate school, Geng Hao, Ji Jian, and I were classmates. And then Geng Hua. Every day we would hang out together because in this process, everyone had the opportunity to work together a lot. But it was just providing each other favors. But in 2009, we together thought that actually there are a lot of specializations in the world. Each person has their own work. Those that are willing to study and go deep are also very many. I saw that each of us had our own specialization, and that together we would have quite a lot of strength. I hoped that as a team we could make things that we had never thought of. So we asked Geng Hao, Geng Hua. Of course, before that, Chen Ji Jian and I, as well as other members, we actually already had a studio called Logico. But after that, because Geng Hao and Geng Hua are twins, They have a very strong energy. We thought that if we had a chance to work together, then the name would naturally be Luxury Logico. It's a very natural, that feeling, what we want to play with from the very beginning. We wanted to experiment with the idea of collaboration. Collaborating from scratch, collaborating in human life. So now it's been 10 years and we have gone through various big and small collaborations. I think that we had a good vibe together, and the way we see things, or even how we know to complete a vision of aesthetics. It's all been brought out through practice over these 10 years, or even longer.
We just took students to see the public art at the Thai Power building, so we are very curious as what the process of an artwork from nothing to something is. It is very long and very arduous. So for your team, for instance with the Thai Power Works, how do you split up work? What are the hardest points in the entire process? And how does this work to make a bridge between people or between nature? I would like to ask you to share about this part.
We actually had very strong plans for the works at Thai Power since their beginning. We hoped to use different types of public art in this one plan to make a presentation. Thai Power also happened to be the one to commission this work. Thai Power actually has a lot of power to maintain works related to media. So in this collaboration, the initial conditions I think were a very interesting mixture. And then we thought about the environment at Thai Power and how if we made a piece that could meld with the environment, what sort of possibilities it could have. So we actually thought about each piece one by one. It is like how Thai Power acts as an energy supplier for Taiwan. It's like it is Taiwan's sun. So we hoped that we could create a work that symbolizes the sun on the roof of their building. We have a work that has been developing long-term called Brightly Shines the Sun. Brightly Shines the Sun was begun with second-hand lights that were collected from various places like museums and then combined into a light installation. This installation changed as we went to different places. We went out of the country and outdoors, and then from small-scale lights all the way to large street lights. Slowly, our technique started to mature, so all the way to this time at Thai Power, we gave this work a more complete combination to display.
I really like this work of Luxury Logicos because of the connection between people and nature. In that work at the Thai Power building, what kind of concept did you use to talk about people and nature?
We actually really we have a lot of methods of creation. Some of them start with the discussion to set the tone. Then after everyone understands, we start to create an aesthetic. Another type begins with each of us saying our own ideas for the work, and then condense it into a complete work. But no matter how we do it, at the end, we find a way to see it as a unified voice. So like with the Thai Power series of works, whether it's Poetry of the Sun, or Brightly Shines the Sun, Poetically Mirrors the Landscape, Flowingly Blows the Breeze, or Mistily Rain the Trees, you will discover that each is like a poem or like a painting. It's like a river with a tree beside it, a tree and the ocean, the breeze, all sparkling. But in this image, we are talking about how energy starts. So we touch on wind power, hydropower, solar power, and normal thermal power generation. After we discuss these, from it grows a lot of ideas. Then from these ideas, of course, we fight, and physically fight, and then this thing will be born. But in the end, you know what the picture is. We all know what the picture is. So I know that what I am making is trees, but to make this tree better, we create colorful tree trunks. It looks like early electric poles in Taiwan. In the past, they used logs, and we used steel to make them. We use that kind of image, where its appearance is of an electrical pole. But then we created mist. The mist we created has two meanings. The mist naturally becomes like it is the leaves of the trees. So they're like a group of dream-like trees. And then next to them, we planted some saplings. As the mist irrigates these saplings, it makes it into a watering device. They will slowly grow, and then after 10 years, so another few years from now, you will see that it has already been surrounded by these new trees. So it becomes a symbiotic concept. So we think that everything all starts from here. If facing a river, then what do we think of this river? We don't directly just make a river work. we will first understand why you need a work by the river. So that's why we made The Sound of Blooming. How can we hear the flowers blossom? What does it mean? We do a lot of digging in geography, history, that sort of geographical environment, and its relation to culture. We discuss whether or not we are interested. If we are, then we do it. If there is no feeling, it's okay.
Then, for the aesthetic aspects, everyone on the team has opinions that aren't always the same. How do you reach a consensus on aesthetics?
This was an earlier problem for us. We have already surpassed this because when you see us discuss collaboration, right? There's a lot of things. What is collaboration? It means that I can take what I can do and what you can do, and then take our time, we take our spirits. Everything alike gets put together. Then it all starts going. It's like an orchestra playing a symphony. You go together and then you finish performing. And you played it very well. Sometimes it doesn't go so well. It's like what we played was dissonant. In this dissonance, it might be a problem with technique, or a fight, or the colors, or fighting. These are all possible, but we had problems like this before. This stage is unavoidable. But we have now discovered that as we take some proportions, Genghua has just mentioned this. Some proportions, this time it needs more mechanics. That time it needed more of something else. A little more music. There's times when it needs a more dynamic feel. We start to automatically compensate. So maybe Chen Qijian is working on a track. We will automatically compensate. That feeling is really interesting. It's because you already understand what I will be, and I understand what you will be. So the aesthetics become whoever it is that is dealing with the aesthetics. So our aesthetics slowly started to show some little differences. But if you carefully observe our works, they all have a kind of harmony. That's to say, how you use a harmony to create a common feeling, or create a feeling of collaboration, like we talk about. This feeling is very important. After the torch, while we were doing the torch, we were making an energy, making a spirit. But after the torch, we knew very clearly that we had to first find a spirit and energy, and then create a work. This turning point is very special. We have ourselves talked about it.
The Taipei Expo Park was like that.
At the Expo Park, we first found a spirit. Then after we found it, then we brought out the idea. The idea came out very quickly, because before that we were precise. So afterwards, it was also precise.
I really want to ask the three of you, because now those watching are high school students. That's who will be watching. So, for aesthetic cultivation, is there any advice you would give them? And how do they expand their thinking? In high school, what kind of preparation can they do so that they will have more ability to face the future?
Yeah. So if we look at this now, there's a feeling of being someone who's already made it. So like Genghua just mentioned, overall to use, it was starting to learn from cooperation, a type of altruistic ability. I know what you are, you know what I am, so I know how to exchange with you. If this thing is expanded, then it can be corporate or governmental or educational. I think that actually in high school, there are two big things you need to learn. At least I think there's two big things. One is finding a way to view, listen, and read. The more the better. Our reservoir must be full.
Any type of thing is okay.
Any way of making things is also okay. That type of thing is the more the better. Good and bad, as long as you like it, it is good. Because that aesthetic cultivation is usually the result of organizing. But before you have broken into things and can begin to organize, you can only continuously absorb. Once it is full, you can still keep absorbing, because people's minds are really huge. We can take in a lot of stuff. If you like to write, if you like to record, then record it. If you like to take pictures, then take a picture of it. I think that it is greatly absorbing a ton of stuff. Second is that you shouldn't hurry. You really shouldn't hurry to put yourself in a role to perform. So I think that you should first fill yourself before you start doing all the continuous, daily, productive performances. You can first spend time to start organizing. For example, you like to sing. Then first sing 1,000 songs, or sing one song 1,000 times. That kind of feeling is different.
Sing 1,000 songs and then sing one song a
This
thousand
is
times.
different. Maybe they are both good because one can achieve breadth and the other depth, and you will learn to be patient. I think that patience is for artists a great task, and it's something everyone has to do. Learn to be patient.
Yeah, I think that what you're talking about, if you actually went along with us, you would see that some of the things that we do are extraordinarily tedious, and they are very repetitive, and they are very mentally taxing. And you will think, can I really finish it? But you must first go through that part to be able to really know if you are right for it. I think that the question you just asked goes back to when we were working on Fly No Matter What. I think that one thing that is really important actually is our family education and school system. If you can make kids free in a limited environment, I think that is very important because when we were doing Fly No Matter What, in that journey, the teachers actually very carefully explained that they were a team from Taipei and that every child should perform well. But in that state, you know, that the children have pressure, but to us, there's not something specific that we need you to do. Whether you write your name doesn't matter because you recorded your state at the time. One day, a teacher scolded a child. He said, "Why did you color the whole sheet blue and then leave the birds white?" And then he said the student was being lazy. This made me think, but there are some famous artists that do this. And if today you use a telephoto lens to look at a bird over the sea, isn't that what it's like? Why isn't this okay? So actually, children have children's perspective. I think that if we don't understand children well enough, then we should first understand them and then punish them. We should first just use this preconceived way to tell children what's right or wrong. So when I have kids, I would think that anything is okay. You just have to be safe. Whatever you do is okay. Because it's like what we just said. You should use all sorts of experimental methods to absorb tons of writing. In your own life, it will become nourishment for you. If we tell them, this isn't okay, then I see some children's parents tell them that it is dangerous and tell them that it's not okay. My dad told me it's dangerous, so I can't do it. But like for my kids, I tell them, you just have to pay attention to safety. Do it, but you can't get hurt. This way is a little different. So you have to let them go try, but they have to be careful. They have to be careful. But you have to let them have this experience for them to be able to learn. It's like this is something that each of us might meet in our individual journeys. So I think that everyone, when they are little, should be very free. I'm super free. I'm not being controlled. Even my parents can't control me.
Are you free then?
I think that we have a common feature. We are all curious about things. It's something we always have. It's an important attitude in learning. Towards anything, you should maintain a type of curiosity. So actually, even though everyone says we are a new media art team, but I think that what we pay attention to isn't the media itself of new media, but the media in its environment, or the relationship that it has with people. How does it manifest? What effect does its manifestation create? That is the point that we actually focus on. So I think that if you really want to do new media art, I would suggest that you spend more time on observation and then curiosity about things.
So actually, what's important is really finding your interests and deepening your roots.
And then filling your reservoir. And persevering.
I think that you should just be competing with yourself.
With the you of yesterday. Thank you, teachers. Today you gave us so much, whether about art or life philosophy. Everyone will get a lot out of this. This is a very valuable sharing of experience. We are very thankful to our 3 teachers today. Thank you, Luxury Logico. What's most important is that after watching, we can go to the actual works and walk around Tai Power Building or from the MRT stations and have a look at the very numerous new media artworks. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.